Toronto. We start off with some news out of TO. Earlier today, Mitch Marner placed on IR with a shoulder injury. He's expected to miss 3 to 4 weeks for Toronto. Marner missed the last 2 games after colliding with Jake Muzzin at practice on Friday. Here's their head coach, Sheldon Keefe.
You know, they were just assessing and giving it some time just to settle, and after giving it some time and seeing where it was at, it's a little bit worse than they thought it was going to be at that time. And now we've come home. He's had a chance to get his MRI and stuff like that. So they think it's going to be about 3 to 4 weeks probably for him. They're going to stay on top of it. I think he'll be back on the ice probably sooner than later. But something that in terms of when he gets back to play, we're going to be cautious with it, of course, and make sure that he's ready.
All right, Mitch Marner, as we know, started off the season very slow, but certainly turned it around with the return of Austin Matthews. You can see where he ranks in and amongst his teammates here on the team. A lot of offense going to be missed with the absence of Marner, Jammer, for the next 3 to 4 weeks. As far as the offense goes, this is the kind of guy that really stirs the drink for Toronto.
It is, but they've had other guys step up, as they will in this instance as well. And it's tough to see because, you know what, at the end of the day, I almost blame the coaches. You want them to be competitive and compete and do battle drills, but you don't want Muzzin hurting one of your best players. It's a delicate balance because I'm sure Muzzin feels awful to be in that situation, to have to be physical. And at the end of the day, it's always going to be good for this to happen at the beginning of the year versus the end of the year. Other guys are going to have to step up. I think of Nylander. I think it's Spezza stepping into that role in the power play. Opportunities for other guys to take advantage.
Yeah, you see right here, originally when I saw this, I was kind of like, what's the big deal? He's fine. Well, guess what? He wasn't fine. And generally as a player, you know that when you take a hit, you're the one that can tell, feel, pop, something abnormal. Doesn't take long for you to figure out, to get a sense of that. And clearly, we understand a lot better why Mitch Marner was so upset. You never want to get injured in practice.
Yeah. Any of you guys get injured at practice? How do you toe that line between, like you said, competing and, trying to replicate NHL game speed, yet you don't want to injure a teammate?
I learned a good lesson as a college player. My roommate was Scott Chartier. I didn't know I was going to tell this story, but it's relevant. We were doing a forecheck drill, and I went in the forecheck. The coach didn't like how hard I went in, told me to get in there quicker. I went in and hit him really hard, separated his shoulder. It's my roommate. I'm a freshman, and I realized right then, it's not worth it. Yeah. I'm not going to be physical. I'll be physical in the games. I'm going to be kind of physical in practice, but never enough to the point where we're at the degree in a game. It was a good, hard lesson for me to learn because I felt awful after that happened.
Yeah, it's a fine line, though. You're a freshman. You want to get more playing time. You got to impress the coach. You go in and you lay a big hit on somebody, but you don't ever want anyone to be injured. I never really got hurt in practice. One time I got cut with a skate. There was a lot of blood coming out of the jersey, just sliced. Didn't really realize it. It was the only time I think that I ever left practice. Otherwise, guys like us, we weren't good enough to leave practice. We had to be going down. You were staying in there. It was just that competitive.
All right, Sandin also out with the injury news. Took that knee the other night in that game.
Yep.
How important is he to that back end for Toronto? We know coming in, it seems like the last couple of seasons, it's always been the big question mark, the blue line. He was a big piece of that.
Yeah, it really was as we take a look at some of the forwards. But losing Sandin, I think it really hurts them. Not as much as Mitch Marner, obviously. But I think he was a big part of the turnaround when they were struggling earlier in the season, was him getting more ice time, him acquitting himself nicely, and just kind of filling a role for them. The Leafs, they always feel like they're perennially under the gun in terms of the salary cap. So it's incumbent and dire for them to get good play out of guys that are not making a lot of money. Sandin had been part of that equation and a nice story.
Yeah, and it's always, you want young guys developing to be a lead in your path, and it isn't always the case. And he's a guy for me that took some time to develop and took some time to really show his way. So it's unfortunate he's injured because this is when he's really found his groove and really found a way to become an impact player for them. So he's going to be sorely missed. It puts more pressure on other guys to step up, but it also is opportunity for a few other guys that maybe are playing down the lineup as well.
Sheldon, can you kind of go through the injuries one by one for us here? They up quite a bit.
You might need to cue me on some of them.
Let's start with Mitch. What exactly is the ailment and what's the prognosis?
Yeah, he's got a shoulder injury. It's first, just to back up, I mean, obviously he had the bump in practice, and at the time it's so quick. I mean, I think it was about an hour later after that bump that we were on a plane and heading to Winnipeg, or to Minnesota, I guess. But they think it's going to be about 3 to 4 weeks probably for him. But they're going to stay on top of it. I think he'll be back on the ice probably sooner than later. But something that, in terms of when he gets back to play, we're going to be cautious with it, of course, and make sure that he's ready.
And Travis Dermott?
Dermott also has a shoulder injury that doesn't appear to be as bad as Mitch's, but certainly bad enough that he's not available. Rasmus, we got good news on Rasmus. I would say better than what we were expecting, given that when you see him leave the arena on crutches and not able to put any weight on his leg, and yesterday wasn't a whole lot better in that sense, but he's had an MRI as well, and the results came back very positive in the sense of no real structural damage to his knee. It's just going to take some time here for it to settle down, the swelling and bruising and stuff like that, so he can start to be weight bearing and things of that nature. But they think once that settles, that he'll recover pretty quickly. So.
Now backing up?
No, Mrazek's obviously back with us here. His conditioning stint with the Marlies is done, but we're glad he was able to get in a game. It would have been nice to get him in more than one, but the schedule is what it is, and now we're just bringing him back here and continue to build him up and get him to the point where he's ready to play an NHL game.
Do you have a timeline on Rasmus?
I can't remember for certain. It's not going to be long term. 2-3 weeks, I think, is what they said. But it all depends on how it settles down. Because, like I said, right now they're not thinking there's any structural damage to it that they've seen in the pictures. So that's good news. But he's still in a lot of discomfort. He was still on crutches yesterday. All those kind of things. So it's just a matter of getting through this next little bit and then getting back on the ice and building himself back up. But all things considered, really good news on that front.
Where's the frustration level for you? How do you park it now, Sheldon, given that you're going to likely lose a solid player here for a bit of time over something that shouldn't have happened?
Yeah, it's tough, but I mean, I think we have moved on from it. That's really it. Things happen in this game. Some are unfortunate, and that certainly is one of them.
How do you replace Mitch? I mean, what do you do?
Well, you just adjust and adapt. That's it. That's what we've been doing. Obviously, it's a big loss for us. He's a major contributor. At 5-on-5 power play penalty kill, he does a lot of that for us. Now the guys need to step up, and fill that gap. And so, like what Spez did in Minnesota, there's a guy stepping up and. Whether it's our power play penalty kill, we got to fill those gaps.
So tonight will it be Rubens and Steves in?
Yes.
How do you feel about those two? What they might bring?
Yeah, I'm excited for them. It's one thing. Anytime these injuries and things happen, opportunity opens up for others to come in. Specific to Rubens and Steves, two guys that we've been excited about here. Obviously, I've been familiar with Rubens, coached him with the Marlies, and kind of saw him as he came in the organization, working with us in rookie tournament, and then on to the Growlers at the ECHL level, and then making his way to the American League, and then my first training camp here, having him involved and playing in preseason games, and I think he really earned the respect of the group here, not just me, but with Dean Chanelf and the rest of our coaching staff, and he's done a good job there with the Marlies. We have some other options there as well, but it's a good opportunity for him that we think we're excited to give to him and show what he can do with it. And then Steve's a guy that we were really excited about based on looking at him through the summer and how he was training and skating, and then got off to a really good start through development camp and early in rookie tournaments. I was out there in Traverse City and he got injured there and missed our camp as a result. So a lot of our players and staff not all that familiar with him, but I like him from what I've seen. A lot of other people in the organization like him. Marley's coaches can't say enough positive things about him and the job he's done since coming back from injuries. So good opportunity for him here as well. So 2 guys making their NHL debut, and that's exciting. And big for them, and also specific to Rubens. Guy that's kind of come through the process here, the way we've established things a number of years ago now, I guess, with the Growlers, and bringing in a guy on an AHL contract and looking to develop him to get to this point now where you got a guy that can help you at the NHL level, we think is a very positive development, and that's a really good thing for that program, and he's certainly a positive example of how he's worked his way through that.